Minneapolis-Moline M602 diesel. I'm going to move this tractor out of the way just because there's a bunch of stuff that needs to be moved around here. You know, that swather sprayer thing that we tried to make work, and the Versatile will move when I get the oil cooler put on it. But this tractor needs to move so that a bunch of other stuff can happen so that we can get our shop cleaned out. But I thought before I moved it, I would go ahead and do a walk around because I've never done that, and this thing's always been around, you know, it's been in the background. I've never really showed it. So I'm going to move it with the skid steer because if I clear out this Johnson grass a little bit, I don't want to move this thing under its own power. I don't even want to try and start it just because I don't want to waste the time. But the bigger reason is, as soon as I get this Johnson grass cleared out of the way, the bigger reason is that when you pull the dipstick, it looks like that. And the astute among you may notice that the oil level is like farther up on the dipstick. You can't see through there on camera, but I kind of can. You can see the leveling marks down there where that sludgy crud is. Those of you that know what's going on here, but in case you don't, what's happening is that there's so much water in the crankcase at the bottom half of the dipstick where the oil level should be is full of water, and it has pushed all of that oil up because oil floats on top of water, and so this crankcase is full of it. Now, I don't know if the engine in this is shot or not. I'd like to get it apart and rebuild it, but I don't know that we're going to be getting to that this year. So that is why it's not moving under its own power. And then, I mean, look at the rest of this. I don't want to have to try and mount an alternator on this and then get that belt hooked up. And, well, I just cut that belt. I guess the fan's on its own thing. So, I mean, I suppose I could, and I thought about draining the old oil out and just dumping used oil in, but it's kind of a waste of time. I think I'll be able to move it easier with the skid steer. Plus, the front tires are flat, and I don't really want to hook onto the air compressor trailer and drag it all the way over here just to air this stuff up. But this tractor here was purchased brand new back in 1963. I have all the original manuals and things like that to get you in there. You can see that, maybe see the serial number a little bit better. The serial number is it is 267-00507 is what it looks like to me. And I don't know how many hours are on this either. I never really looked. She has 3,700 hours on her. Okay? Which isn't bad. I need to see about getting this thing into neutral because I don't think it's having it. Now, I don't know specifically what is wrong with this tractor. I've only heard it run once. Okay? And that was probably 8 years ago. And what it sounded like was that someone was hammering pop cans inside of the engine, which even at, 16, I knew that was bad. 15 or 16, however old I was. But that was the last time this thing ran, and we weren't really expecting it to show up here, but my great uncle got a wild hair one day, I guess, and decided to move it, and yeah. So I would assume that this tractor, the engine, I know for a fact needs to be completely overhauled at this point. I would imagine the rings have seized, and it was losing compression because it wouldn't start. I knew that. And I'm pretty sure the amplitorque is screwed up. I know for a fact that the hydraulic 3-point is shot because somebody tried to pick up bales that were way too heavy and they blew the seals out of it, so that doesn't work. So the remotes don't work. I think the PTO is messed up. I think the transmission is okay, but there's just a lot wrong with it. I mean, everything's here, minus the alternator, which some people would throw a fit. It's supposed to have a generator on it. I'm like, yeah, I know, but most people converted stuff to alternators because that was easier to get. Rusa Master injection system. I don't know if you can get parts for those anymore. There's no coolant in it that I can see in the radiator because I looked yesterday. For the longest time, there was no air cleaner here. And so what happened was when it would rain, it would just run right into the air intake. So I imagine that's full of water. And then the muffler here, if the wind picks up and blows, it'll blow the cap open and it'll run stuff in there that way. Now, I did not look and see if there was any fuel in it. There is. I'm going to smell it. It still smells like diesel, so that's good. I mean, it's not completely shot, I don't think, to the point where it can't be fixed or rebuilt. And then, as you may have noticed, it's supposed to have a loader. We do have the loader. I don't think it worked all that well. I don't know. There's only 2 remotes on the back. But it's got authentic, I mean, I believe they are authentic Moline wheel weights on them. These tires are not ballasted, but they are struggling because, you know, this tractor's been sitting here for a long, long time. Thing's never been in the shed. So here's the back with the 3-point, and somebody decided a, 1.5 foot a sucker rod would make a good hitch pin, and then forgot it was there and backed up with it. So, I mean, I don't think the rims are rotting or anything. They're oily. You can see back in there some net wrap, because I guess Dad and I are the only ones that pick up our net wrap when we feed hay. This tractor, as far as I know, someone may have tried to take the pump off the back. But anyway, as far as I know, this is off of tractor data, and I'll see if I can take a screenshot, maybe put it on screen so you guys don't think I'm BSing. My numbers are probably a little off. But this tractor is rated at, I think, 60 horse engine, and so it gets approximately, I think, like 50 drawbar and 57 PTO. You know, it's just like a little row crop tractor. It's not anything special. They made quite a few of these. They made the least amount of them in the diesel. I think there's only like 1,700, almost 1,800 of them in diesel. So, I mean, it's not a common tractor, but it's not a rare one. This thing was used... This was used for a few years until my grandpa decided that a 7020 Alice would be a better option because it had a cab and more power. Still undersized for the amount of farming he was doing, but he was fine with it. So this Moline acted pretty much as a utility tractor. I was told by my granddad that when he bought this, he said it was rated as a 4-bottom plow tractor. But the ground that he went to plow with this, when he first got it, he used a 4-bottom plow. I think it was a 4x16. We don't have it. It may have been that old Moline plow. But anyway, he went to plow some ground with it. I mean, we live in red dirt, so it's hard and it's clay. And this particular piece has always been hard. And he went to plow with it, and he said this thing just struggled. It did not like it one bit. He said second gear was pushing it, and first gear was about all he could do most of the time. He said it wouldn't drive fast enough to throw the windrow over. You know, if you're plowing, it's supposed to throw your windrow over and make everything look nice. And he said you couldn't get the tractor to go fast enough with enough power to do that. So it did not do very good there. I don't know how much else it was really used for. I mean, we had, at one point, there were some bale spears on the back that were used to move around bales. It was kind of a weird setup, and that was hard on the 3-points and everything. I don't know how reliable of a tractor this really was, because from near as I can tell, this thing never got maintenance when it needed, if it got maintenance at all. I remember my great uncle put head gaskets on it at one time, and at 3,700 hours, this thing shouldn't be that worn out. I mean, it's just a little 5.5 liter 4-cylinder diesel. It's not even really that big of an engine. You know, it shouldn't have worn out. But when you don't change your oil, and when you have problems starting because your rings are sticking because you don't change your oil, and then your solution is to just keep spraying ether into it, eventually that ether is going to wear out your engine. Now, I know a lot of people say that ether will kill an engine. Sometimes people say ether doesn't kill an engine. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Some engines are made for ether, some are not. This engine will handle it a lot better than, like, I don't know, a 6.4 Power Stroke wheel, just because it's so low compression. The problem with ether is not that it causes pre-detonation. If it combusts, it might throw the engine out of time, and you do that enough, it'll wear stuff out. So that's kind of my take on it. I don't know how much ether was put through this thing, but the ether is generally a sign that if your engine's not starting, something especially this small, you're either not spinning it fast enough, it's not getting good fuel, whatever. There's other problems to where if you're having to spray that much ether in to get it to start when it's cold, that's probably bad. So that didn't help. But if I had to hazard a guess, I would almost certainly guess that because the oil was not changed regularly and because this thing sat for years between being run, the rings stuck and there's like a tremendous amount of blow by. How the water got in the crankcase, I am not sure. I would imagine it has something to do with this exhaust. And so the heads might be shot. I don't know. But you can see it's painted up in there where the head gaskets were redone. And I remember watching my great uncle put the head gaskets on. Great big old Moline cylinder heads up in there. So that's really the long and short of it. That's really it. There's not much else to tell. So I've basically never heard it run that I can remember. I don't know how it's supposed to sound. I don't know what kind of power it really has. But the thought that we have is that if we can get this fixed and running, then it will operate our little sprig digger and pull the sprig wagon. It should have enough power to do that. I mean, you're not going to go tremendously fast with it anyway. And it would be a nice little utility tractor to have. And you know what? You can't pick up a tractor this size for less than 20 to 30,000. I mean, they are ridiculously expensive. And if it says John Deere, you're going to pay more. You know, especially like a 4020 or whatever, which I guess the 4020's got more power than this. But regardless, these utility tractors like this, they're expensive and they're kind of hard to find, and you pay a lot for them. And then they've got thousands and thousands of hours on them. They're worn out. They need to be rebuilt. And so we just decided, instead of trying to get rid of this and get another one, we'll just fix this one. And that would be really nice, because this is the last new tractor that was purchased on this farm that is still here. I think the last, because I mean, other new tractors have been bought on this farm, not for a long time now, but there was that Alice, and then we had a couple of Kubotas and a New Holland tractor. They were all smaller. It's before we switched to, real horsepower. So of the new tractors that were bought, I mean, like brand spanking new right off the lot, this is the last one that is still here, the newest one that is still here, if that makes any sense. So it's kind of cool to have, and I think it looks nice. It's one of Moline's better designs. I like the design of the Moline tractors after they, well, let's see, it'd be like from the 60s onward with these M series and the G series. I like them. They look really, really cool. So that's there's your walk around of the Moline. If anyone out there is a Moline aficionado and you have any additional information or anything like that, then post it down in the comments, because that would be most helpful. I'm not really familiar with these at all. All I know is that I'm going to hook on to the front of it with the skid steer and just pick the front end up and see if I can't drag it out of the way after I find neutral, because I don't want everything connected. I don't want it to try and spin. And I mean, look at this. This is so loose. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then this up here, that's how you know it wasn't maintained very well. If you watch, okay, there the steering wheel grabs, okay? And there it grabs again. I mean, look at how much, that is how much play is in the steering wheel. It's ridiculous. And only 3,700 hours. That's sad. I mean, it really is. But one of these days, we'll get her going again. For right now, it's got to move. We got bigger projects to take care of. So I'm going to go ahead and get her moved. That's about it. I hope you all enjoyed this little walk around. I'm not really a professional walk around type guy. Usually do other stuff. So I hope this wasn't too boring for you. I hope I didn't repeat myself too much. We will deal with this eventually. I mean, I promise. This is one of those projects that I get really excited about, and this is the reason that the channel icon here on my profile for the YouTube, that's why it's the Moline logo, is this thing right here, because I always thought it looked pretty slick. And we've got a Twin City back in the trees, so I mean, this farm's no stranger to Moline equipment. Pretty cool. That's all I really have to say. So I'll let you guys go. Hope you enjoyed. Like I said, if you have any additional information or anything like that, leave it down in the comments, and we'll get her moved, get stuff cleaned up. Catch you guys later.